How do you match sexually? You commit to meeting your spouse's sexual needs. Now, I want you to understand there's this libido issue of matching libidos, and it just doesn't happen very often. Men are typically, and this is a third of all women are more sexual than their husbands. So even though, and especially this is true as women get older, because women typically will reach their sexual peak at 40 years or later. Men reach their sexual peak at around 20 years old. And so as a man gets older, a lot of times his testosterone level will drop. He won't be quite as sexual. And it's a good thing sometimes because he's a little less sexual and his wife is more sexual. And that can be a really good thing. But in some cases, he's not as sexual. And I just want to say this now for everyone, man and woman, it doesn't matter. You meet your spouse's sexual needs. If your spouse has a need, you faithfully, men and women, you faithfully meet that need, and you don't tell yourself the lie that you always have to desire it in order to do it. Let me say this, you either sexually, you use it or lose it. You know, it's like other areas of your life. The more you have sex, the more you will want to have sex, and the more pleasurable your sex will become. And that doesn't mean you have to have it every day, but it means you have to have it regularly. And the more regularly you have sex, the better it will be, the more sexual you will become. It's very important. On the program today, we're talking about striking your sexual match, how to have the sex life in marriage that God wants you to have. And Karen, I want to ask you a question because we're talking today, you know, to men and women. But when women, you know, when you talk to women about sex, women typically are less sexual. It's not always true. Sometimes there's a woman who's more sexual than her husband. But the number one problem that women have today is just the lack of sexual desire.
Well, I think it's because we're all so stressed and busy. I mean, we get tied up in the world and all the things that are demanding of us, and especially because women work outside the home now more than they ever have. And so it's just hard. It's hard for women to, you know, disconnect from the outside to come back in, and then the stress, and then children, and I just think it's really important to take time for each other. Right. Like, that's why we emphasize the date nights. Right. That's why we emphasize, you know, communication. You know, I think sometimes if a woman and a man will sit down and just talk about how they're feeling and how they're, you know, still desiring each other, but maybe just being honest, you know, I'm just stressed out right now. I just don't know how to deal with this. You know, honesty is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is just to constantly remember that as a man, it is a big deal for you. I mean, you really, it's a built-in thing with you that we need to be meeting as your need, in spite of how we might be feeling. Yeah,
what I say to women in seminars is be more sexual than you feel, and understand the power of your husband's need, just like a man needs to talk more than he feels like he needs to be talking. That's right. And sometimes the reason a wife is not feeling as sexual is because her needs aren't being met, and she's being ignored. Now you're smiling.
Because you talk a lot for me. I like that.
Well, there's a reason. There's a payoff. So this information we hope is helpful for you today. Sex is an important part of marriage, and both as men and women, we need to do our part to make sure that we're fulfilling our spouse's sexual needs. Very, very important. God bless you. We thank you that you joined us today. See you next time.
Thank you for joining us. Experience the life-changing series Sex, Love, and Communication on CD or DVD. Follow your interests and get social by connecting with Jimmy and Karen and the Ministry of Marriage Today on Twitter. Marriage Today's latest book, Lifelong Love Affair, is an essential tool couples can turn to again and again for inspiration and strength. Order your copy today. Become a rock-solid partner today and equip yourself with the tools you need for a successful marriage. $14, $28, or $56 per month. Choose the partnership level that's right for you. Become a rock-solid partner today.